Macedonia Planning Commission meeting to order. Do a roll call.
Sure. Mr. Posar?
Here.
Mr. Westbrooks?
Here.
Mr. Chiavone?
Here.
Mr. Velada?
Here.
We have a new member, Pat Velada. Welcome.
Thank you.
Glad you're here. Everybody had their eyesight. Nobody burned out their retinas. Just making sure. The next item is the approval of the July 17th meeting minutes. I don't think we can do that because we've only got two members that were here that night. We'll have to wait for Mr. Cox, maybe at the next meeting. I guess moving on to the first agenda item, Liberty Valley Church, proposed signage. Somebody here from them? Come on, go ahead and come on forward. You can have a seat. Welcome. Look at your names.
Yeah, my name is Sean Petter.
All right. You want to give us a quick overview of what you're planning?
Sure. So, in addition to our normal church activities, we also host a Friday night addiction meeting at our church. It's been very successful. We've been running it for 3 years. We had a temporary sign up. We were unaware of the statutes related to that, and we were asked to take it down, so we did. And then we began following the process for putting up a permanent sign. So what we'd like to do is, with the outline you have there, something very simple, black lettering on a white background, very noticeable from Route 8, but simple in construction.
Okay. We should have some comments from our planner, Brian. Go with this. You would go over.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't hear you ask me to do that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My report dated August 13th regarding Liberty Valley Church signage, 7772 Capitol Boulevard. The applicant's proposing an additional wall sign, about 50 square feet, 5 by 10 on their property, located at Capitol Boulevard. It's a multi-tenant facility at the end of Capitol Boulevard, I believe on the cul-de-sac. The additional wall sign is being proposed on the side of the building facing Route 8. And there's currently an existing wall sign on that building elevation. The code limits one sign per building elevation, for example, per tenant space. A possibility in this case would be to combine the language of the new sign with the existing sign, providing the applicant with one overall wall sign on the building frontage, but serving both purposes. And I just have a note on here to accurately determine the permitted sign area for this proposal. The tenant frontage needs to be provided. The frontage that's provided is 160 feet, but I don't think that's the frontage for this tenant, but the whole building.
Right, and I did go by and take full measurements today. The frontage that we're responsible for on that Route 8 side was 90 feet. So, I don't know if you needed the elevation, but it was 22 and a half feet high, so a total of 2,025 square feet is our space there. But we also are located in a second unit within that building, so we actually occupy 2 tenant spaces there. So I don't know if that makes a difference. I don't know what the unit numbers are because I don't handle the lease there, but we have that corner unit, and then as the building faces south, we have the unit immediately to the right of that. 2 separate entrances, 2 separate complete units there that we occupy.
So on this, are you here and here, is that what you're saying?
Our main facility is here,
Okay.
and then we have the middle office between here and where the overhead door company used to be.
Okay. Yeah, so it's kind of a
Correct, yes.
shoot thing.
Yep.
Brian, what would you consider, I don't know, if you're what the front of the building is necessarily?
Well, the front of the building would be the part of the building facing the parking lot or the road. This would be the back of the building, I would say.
Okay, so the other,
Yeah. I think there may be a sign on the front facing Capitol Boulevard. I'm not sure.
There is not.
You don't have a wall sign on the front?
No, sir.
Okay.
I think it's on the south part of the building.
you just have the one Liberty Valley Church wall sign?
No, on this corner, we have the one that's facing Rowdy, and then, as the gentleman said, the one facing south.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird building, because you got doors on this side, but there's also, looks like,
A door on that side.
doors on this, the Route 8 side that goes to something else. It's like, it's not a typical building that's got all the front doors and everything runs the length of the building. It's
Mhm.
chopped up all kinds of ways.
Yeah, so,
This is primarily the front of the building, when it was 3 units. Also, each of these had a, yes, designated entranceway on that side. Each of these, the side,
Okay.
back side went into a hall for warehousing, and the front, all the offices were located across the front.
Across the south side of the building.
Yes, sir.
You don't happen to know what that dimension is?
I do, yeah.
What
In
your
fact,
frontage is?
For the 2 units that we occupy, it's a total of 74 foot.
it's not 90?
Not
What's
all
the
in front
90?
there. The 90 is the Route 8 side, the west side of the building, where we propose the sign.
This chunk of it here is 90. They're part of
Right.
this side, which is kind of front door looking.
Yeah, that'd be where you'd
So
measure
That's
your
from Route 8, yeah.
tenant
Looking
frontage
at it
from
from
the
right
74.
Okay.
So your 74 is where you'd measure your tenant frontage from.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess there's a couple issues. If it is, did you say 70 or 74?
74.
74, okay. Do we know what how much signage did they get, Brian, do you know?
Well,
If it was 74?
so times 2, 140, 148. And so what's your existing Liberty Valley Church? Do you know how big that is?
Did we have that in there? No.
And then your other sign facing to the south as well.
Yeah, the existing sign is 40 square foot, 10 by 4.
The
Both signs, well, each one is 10 by 4.
So the Route 8 side, the south side, there's
Correct.
2 signs, 40 square feet apiece.
Yes, sir.
And then this one. This one's how, this is 50.
So they're
And that's adjustable. We haven't ordered the sign yet. We're just looking ahead. So if that's not acceptable, we'd be willing to resize that if possible.
Well, it sounds like size-wise, it would probably be okay, but I think, pricing the requirement is 1 sign per face.
Okay.
So, and that's what he was suggesting, somehow combining it with this sign. Maybe it's just below it, turn it into more of a square sign.
If I might ask a question, is it possible, rather than producing an entirely new sign, to simply match that size and join them together so that they're one right above the other? Match the style and everything? Is that something we could do?
I think we've done that before with a sign that they wanted to have 2 separate, I think it was at Herchik's maybe even. When they wanted to have 2 signs, we said, yeah, bring them together, put them together, make it one complete, even though there were 2 separate units, they were bolted together or pushed up against each other, so it's 1 complete sign.
Yeah.
I think style matching would probably be good.
Sure.
So maybe it can be more a blue sign that's, down below it, something like that.
Absolutely.
Maybe it's a total of 80 square feet for that sign. Brad, do you think that would be acceptable?
Yeah, Matt, that's what I was sort of suggesting in my report. Because really the meeting notification really seems like a part of another sign, right? So if they were combined, it would seem to be natural.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
then you'd be fine. And your square footage, you're okay on. I mean, you have 50 being proposed here, and you have 80, so you're below by about 18 square feet.
Okay.
So you'd be okay. And I think that, probably for the mayor's perspective, my guess as well, is to make them aesthetically compatible would be the desire to do that.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking maybe that's the solution. Come back with the sign, show it being this combined sign, whether it's the existing one, another one butted up against it, or however it might be. And come back, and as long as everything still checks out and you're proposing the right size, you know, I think it should be. Okay, what do you guys have thoughts?
I have a question, just bear with me.
Oh,
I'm
please.
trying to understand.
Of course.
If I understood, the little white sign here is the proposed new one,
Correct.
Yes.
and you occupy that space and the one on the corner.
That
Where
is all,
the,
that
where
is
the current
actually,
Liberty Valley Church sign is, that unit plus the one next to it?
well, that's all one unit. From that corner,
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's all one unit?
yes.
Yeah, it's
You
kind of
opened
a-
up the walls, so to
It
be in
was open when
conformance,
we
you only
got
have
there,
one
yeah.
sign there.
It's an open warehouse
Yes.
facility.
You said you occupied the next one next to it, but that is not where you're proposing this sign.
No, that's
is.
correct. Yeah, and then that is segregated,
Okay.
the walls are currently still there.
I understand now. Okay.
So you're getting credit for the square footage. You said it's 74 feet of tenant frontage, that's both combined, right?
Yes.
So you're getting the credit for the square footage, so to your point, if you combined them into one sign, you'd be okay having that on
Great.
the back of the building.
Okay.
Sounds like you may need to get a, like an occupancy permit too, at least check with the city on if that requirement is necessary or not.
Okay.
I'm not sure they knew about the combination of the space.
I'm not sure, I'll have to check on that. Okay.
Anybody else have any thoughts? Joe? All right, someone will make a motion.
I'll make a motion to table.
All right, all in favor? Or a second? All right.
I second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, opposed? Anyone? Okay, sorry. Yeah, so, yeah, feel free to
So
change
this-
it up a little bit.
Sure, and at this point, resubmit for the September meeting then?
Yes.
Okay.
And it comes up pretty quick, so now you can, Susan, you can figure out what that needs to be.
The dates.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Second of that.
Remember that unit, Brian, it was sitting right here.
Next is Ohio State waterproofing ground sign.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Can we get your names?
Sure. My name's Tom Yankovich. I'm with Ellett Sign Company.
And Chad Grant with Ohio State Waterproofing.
Let's just give us a quick overview of what you're planning.
Sure. We're asking your approval for one 4-foot high by 8-foot wide double-faced ground sign. The ground sign would consist of a header portion which is 16 inches high. It would display the logo of the company, be internally illuminated with translucent colors. The bottom portion would be a Daktronics brand, a 19.8 millimeter monochrome red electronic display. It would have a aluminum cladding with the address numbers, and it would be centrally located along Route 82, or I'm sorry, Highland Road, sorry, right in front of the building in a mulch bed area with some landscaping to mimic the existing landscaping that's by the entrance. The primary reason for the ground sign is basically to advertise for hiring process. They're constantly looking for, labor, and they're a high growth company, and this is a way to display constantly the need for that labor end of things. Their intention is everything that the code requires for electronic dynamic displays, they intend to follow. Static messages for 20 seconds, the length of
They're not carrying over messages.
yeah,
next to
the
height.
transitions is the
Okay.
word I was looking for. Transitions would not they just come up and reappear without any type of special effect. The other thing too is, you know, the 30% and the copy height. It's hard to get the copy height needed for a good visible message with a smaller display. So what they elected to do when we're in the design process is to limit the overall square footage, display the logo in its entirety, which is, you know, throughout all the trucks and websites and everything that they've established, marketing and branding wise, would be in that header portion proportionally. You know, could they grow that header and use up the rest of the square footage? Sure. But it would still not allow for a large enough display to display large enough copy height as you're traveling down that roadway, which is pretty busy, multiple lanes. And that's the whole reason why we enlarged the display, decreased the header a little bit. We knew we would be in trouble with the 30% rule, but you know, it's not without putting a little thought behind of why we did what we did. And you won't see a whole lot of messaging up there for the marketing and that sort of thing, but it's strictly for the hiring process.
Yeah, and what we're looking at is, with the position we're hiring, is not your typical clerical position. This is, you know, blue collar work. We're right on the bus line. This is the type of sign to attract, you know, mom's driving home from work and she sees the sign now hiring entry level, to start from there. And that's what we're kind of looking for. It's not going to be this flashy, you know, buy one, get one free. It's solely for the blue collar guy, the guy that gets off the bus route, the guy that's leaving maybe another business and coming down. So he sees that and comes into our building and applies.
Okay. Brian, you've got some comments, you want to hit the highlights, whatever you...
Yeah. Just so, a couple of the things, a common theme seems to be about the content of the sign. Just want to be clear, the city doesn't regulate your content.
Okay.
So you could put 2 for 1, the city planner's an idiot, whatever you want to put, they're not going to regulate the content of it. So just so we're clear.
Okay.
It's more about the aesthetics, the size, and a lot of thought went into the ordinance that regulates dynamic displays or electronic message centers. I think that was amended maybe back in like 2014 or 15. So with that said, the application's been reviewed against that, and to the applicant's point, there was a lot of information about the dynamic display wasn't contained on the application, on the brochure information. So that does need to be included for the record documentation of all the requirements. The sign itself is about just under 32 square feet roughly. A 40 square foot sign is permitted, so you could go an additional 8 square feet.
Okay.
That might help you with, depending on the speed limit on Highland, help you with your lettering size as well.
35 is the speed limit.
35, so in the code will describe the lettering height. I forget what it is,
It's
but
9 inches.
at 35, 9 inches. So, you know, you might pick up some with a little bit larger. The percentage is an issue. It's all spelled out here. The planning commission can't deviate from that. So if you're not able to make it work in terms of your percentages, you'll have to go for a variance from the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Okay.
Currently, the size itself is just under 32 square feet. The electronic message display, the dynamic display, is just under 21 square feet, so it represents about 65% of the sign area, and the code regulates it to 30%. So that's what you need to strive to try to reach. Otherwise, it's a variance request to the BZA. And then just the rest of the stuff is, as you pointed out, just missing that documentation. So it's just a matter of displaying that. And then, do you have an existing ground sign now?
We do. Right at the entrance, it's more of an entrance sign. We do plan on keeping that sign. I mean, it's been there since we erected the building. I think that new sign is 1988.
Okay. Yeah, that's an issue as well. Then you can only have one ground sign on your property. If if you were a corner lot, we allow for a second smaller sign on the corner, the opposite corner from your main frontage. But in this case, you can only have one ground sign, so that would also trigger a variance request.
So it sounds like if we have choices to make, either one, tear down the sign, keep that sign. If we want to keep both of them, I have to go to zoning and appeals.
Yeah, you'd have to go to Board of Zoning.
Board of Zoning,
Yeah,
okay.
for a variance. And then lastly, so those are, without reading every bit of my report.
Yeah, absolutely.
That covers the main issues. And then lastly, there's no landscaping around the base of the sign. You'd indicated you're gonna put it up in that bed, which is already set up with mulch, I believe.
Yeah, mulch, I think.
And a light maybe too?
There's a light, there's a flagpole, and then we switch out flowers from, mums in the fall to something, I'm not a flower person, but we switch them out seasonally.
Right. And so the commission would be looking for something that's, year-round vegetation, not
Grasses,
just
stuff like that.
flowers. Yeah, small shrubs.
Okay.
Different types of shrubs would work. Obviously, you don't want to be too tall that would cover your message.
Right, absolutely.
That's pointless then to spend all that money.
Yeah.
But small shrubs, boxwoods, things like that.
Okay.
To add some greenery and break up the sign. Also, typically the base of the sign is some sort of masonry.
Okay.
So you're proposing, I think, what, aluminum?
Aluminum, yes.
So this site is just inside the town center district, which does require more of a heightened architectural standard. You may not see that
Yeah.
in applications in the area, but new applications would be required or subject to the town center requirements, which have some different architectural standards. So what I'd encourage you to do is maybe meet with the mayor's office and talk about what that might be. The commission could give you maybe some guidance as well, what they were thinking. But typically, and I've been with the city now for about 11 years, typically that's been some sort of masonry, landscaping, low-lying landscaping around the base of the sign to add to the aesthetics of it. So those are things you could consider.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we'll definitely, seems like we'll go to help with the mayor's office from that standpoint. Because I don't really think if you look at our building, I mean, it's been there for years. I don't think you really see much masonry in the front of our building.
Yeah, sure.
So I think, from visually, just as flip sides, as I drive past, you have a building that's non-masonry, and now you have a masonry sign.
Yeah.
To me, it draw off my eyesight, or my line.
And there's so if that's, whatever the building, I don't know what the building materials are, but, try to match or mirror the building
Right.
materials, and if I don't think they're aluminum, but, that'd be something I'd look at, and then use landscaping to enhance the appearance of the sign. Then you have the technical requirements. It sounds like your agent there is telling you can meet those technical
Right.
requirements. You just have to demonstrate that on your submitted documentation, that all these requirements are being adhered to.
Because we went with the top of the building is aluminum, so we wanted to grab the top and bring it to the bottom. That was the whole purpose for it to match the
And
top to the bottom.
I'd encourage you to talk, to the mayor's office about
Absolutely.
the architecture and such.
Okay. Okay.
Guys, do you have any comments?
Just from, number one being new, but number two, when I read this, Brian, your summary before the meeting, my first reaction was, that's an awful lot of proposed things to change, to modify. And I don't know, maybe I missed it. Why do you want to come in front and with all these things that would require a variance instead of just making it comply? I didn't understand the hardship or the reason why. Because you had to have, didn't you have this before you even proposed the sign, the zoning laws and all that?
Well, we had the zoning laws, yes, and we knew it'd be a challenge to keep the percentage rule. But it's also a challenge, you can't make the electronic sign, 2 inches smaller. It's going to be based on what the technology is, and we would have to cut the size in half in order to, try to come closer
And then
to
you-
what the 30, but then what you get is you get smaller copy height to get your message across because you
Sign
don't
is hard to
have.
read. in your
Exactly.
Absolutely. So the header portion, you could increase that percentage, you know, or decrease the electronic display percentage if you increase the overall square footage. But, you know, they were like, look, this is our logo, this is our proportion, we're trying to keep it squared off, we don't want this larger header portion with a smaller electronic portion. So therefore, you know, maybe the commission would want to, you know, see that we're trying to not have this large ground sign in front of the building, but keep everything to a minimum.
Okay.
The one thing that might help you, to go back when this whole conversation came up years ago, when the commission, previous commission, I think maybe Mr. Westbrook's was the only one that was on there at that time, had talked about electronic message centers and the impact of those aesthetically in the community and things. It was pretty well thought out that the intent was to limit the amount of space, and that's why the 30% is in place, to limit the impact of the electronic message center and make the primary focus a standard static sign, and the electronic portion would be sort of minimized or a smaller percentage of the sign. So that's how that came about.
Have we done this before, or would this be a precedent according to the ordinance, the law that we have right now?
Well, so
30% and the size of the message display.
There's-
Have we granted a variance before on that?
I don't know, so let me answer that in two ways. There's other electronic message centers in the city. I don't know what the percentages are after they leave here, if they go attempt to get variances, I just don't know that answer. One, and then two, which is more of a philosophical question on precedent setting, variances don't set precedent. They're case by case, parcel by parcel, and the impact on that parcel as it relates to a neighborhood versus, you know, well, we gave it there, we have to give it here. That's just not the case with variances.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, not the case with variances. Because then every variance would be granted. Once you grant one, everyone would have to be granted if that was the case.
That's
So
what I
they're
was thinking.
unique to the parcel in question.
Okay.
So any other comments?
No, I think you've got a pretty good picture of what you have to go through now, which direction you want to go through. If you want to try and put a couple variances or make some adjustments and so forth, and then meet the mayor as far as the cosmetic portion of it, being in the town center, that requires specifics on that, so maybe something can be adjusted rather than just a flat look to it.
Sure.
With that, I would think our position would be to table it at this time, and I would make that motion.
A motion, second?
I second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so we'll see you guys back here.
Yeah,
Go
we'll
through
go
the-
we'll
talk to
talk
mayor,
mayor,
go
go
to
to zoning.
BZA, and
Yeah.
see what answers they come back with for you.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Have a great evening.
Alright, so this is Starbucks.
Starbucks.
All right. So there was some updated information on top. You submitted something, and then there's been some a little bit of updated
Yes.
stuff to try, I think, to address some of the comments.
Did you guys get revised copies, because I made them?
We don't have color ones, if that was all, I think.
Oh, I'm Amy from Gillette Sign. We're the local sign installers for Starbucks.
All right, why don't you go ahead and give us an overview.
Okay. New location, approximately, at this time, 2 tenants in the building. Starbucks will be going in. We have wall signage on 3 different elevations. It does comply with zoning. There is a 48-inch illuminated siren, which is the logo. And then also, drive-through wall sign, directing customer flow around the building. We have some drive-through directional signs. And then there is a shared monument sign where we would put illuminated logo and lettering for drive-through. After that, there's unit 2, that's an address that doesn't really need it. Menu board, preview board, speaker post, and clearance wall.
Before we get kind of, menu board, is it just panels
Yeah.
fixed? It's not like a video screen or anything like?
No, there is an LCD screen,
For the order.
but that's for the speaker post so that they can read the order back to you and it all comes up.
Okay, but this isn't like changing, okay.
Not interactive, talk to you, no.
Okay. And so I guess the updates to this, did it have to do with the
things.
Starbucks?
Yeah, so 2 things. The west elevation, we did have a set of channel letters over to the left, and the review came back that there was only 1 wall sign. So we put the drive-through sign underneath the siren, and they're just taking the channel letters off, keeping it in conformance, is what they were
Okay.
trying to do there. The other item that they changed is, and they had it on there, for some reason it didn't come through. On the site plan, the monument sign is a shared site plan with Aspen Dental, and it is labeled F. So they just clarified that. It was on there, but it wasn't shown.
Okay.
So that is the landlord's existing masonry monument, and they'll be adding illuminated channel letters, basically, logo and letters that say drive-through to each side.
Okay. Was it, does that remember, did we approve the monument sign? Was that, did it come through with Aspen? Does anybody remember?
I thought it was approved as far as the location and so forth, but I don't.
There were some things that had to be changed, an
Yeah.
update needed to be provided. I have not seen that. I don't know if it came through maybe through the building department.
Okay.
So I would say the monument sign, if it hasn't been resubmitted, is still unapproved technically
Okay.
until it gets.
Check into that. Can check into that tomorrow.
Okay, that's, yeah, because something in your comments, Brian, made me think about that. You said something about, you know.
That made me think about it too.
Yeah,
I went back to see.
Approved with administrative
Yeah.
follow-up or something.
Yeah, so that, I mean, we can look at it kind of with the assumption that that's what's going on there. But if that's not the approval of that, or something gets changed with the monument sign's location or the size or something,
We'd like to
we have to
know, so,
revisit.
yeah.
Yeah, you would like to know.
Yeah.
So. Okay, Brian, you want to go through your comments?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, pretty basic. In terms of the overall square footage, I believe they're compliant. The issue, at least prior to the resubmittal this evening, was that same as the church sign that we were talking about, one of the elevations had 2 separate signs. There was a logo sign, and then the channel letters, both being 2 separate signs but on the same elevation. So you're stating this evening for the record that that's been changed and it's just 1 sign now?
Correct.
The channel letters have been removed completely?
They have.
So it's just a logo?
Correct.
So each of the 3 elevations have just a logo on them, along with your
Yes,
directional
exactly.
signage that doesn't have your name, it's just an arrow pointing the
Correct.
direction in the event us silly folks don't know how to drive around a drive-through. Good. So if that's the case, and there's just 1 sign on each of the elevations, and the area hasn't increased, is that correct?
That's correct.
Then it would be compliant at 54.75 square feet with 60 being permitted. And with the 1 elevation, only have one sign. That's good, so they'd be in compliance. Now, the ground sign's a different issue. It did show up on these, what I would call the site plan. It wasn't shown, the letter was shown, but it wasn't showing on the site plan, on the original submittal. So if that's been picked up on the revised, that's
Yeah.
good. that does need to be approved, and I do see the change. It does need to be approved by the city at some point prior to the permit for the sign being issued. I'm assuming the ground sign is not constructed.
I haven't noticed it.
Yeah, so
I haven't really-
plenty of time to catch it then. Is it? However, the city,
Monument sign at the street?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can get it.
You think it's there?
Is that what you said? The foundation or the brick?
Okay, and we might have approved it. I don't recall for sure.
You did, Mr. Chairman. You approved it subject to
Oh, subject to some things.
a final administrative
Okay.
review of some outstanding items that were stipulations.
Okay.
It was the usual landscaping.
The base probably,
Yeah.
that's the, maybe confirmation of the setback, things like that. If that's the case, do you see any problem with the monument sign, if, assuming this, you know, this layout, assuming the location, the base, everything like that, just adding? the
Yeah, if that's
Starbucks
just
to-
an insert into it, I didn't recall it looking like that, but if that's just an insert being put into the space for Starbucks, would that be accurate?
They're actually channel letters, so it's like a tiny little channel letter set that
Okay.
would illuminate, so the logo and the letters are
Yeah.
individual.
Internally
elements.
illuminated
Mhm.
LED letters?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so again, if that's what was approved, can I ask the applicant, are you looking for approval of a ground sign tonight?
Not of a ground sign, no,
Yeah.
just to put the lettering on the landlord's masonry.
Yeah. So I would just say, Mr. Chairman, if the commission is comfortable with it, you're approving 3 wall signs, 54.75 square feet, no channel letters, addition of a second channel letter on that one elevation, and the monument sign to be worked out administratively to ensure compliance with the commission's previous approval,
Okay.
is how I would probably approach it.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't ask you before, for the other issues, hopefully you didn't have anything on this one? Okay. Hey, quick question, the drive-through sign, so is this with the arrows, it's going a couple spots, so is that an illuminated sign?
It is, it's LED internally illuminated, it's like a box wall sign. I think it's only like 5 inches deep, and then it has a flat face on it with vinyl. And so it'd be black background, only lights up, drive-through, and the arrows at night.
Guys, you have any questions, comments?
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
Please.
Just out of
do.
curiosity. Do you know why Starbucks has gone to their directional signs on a wall versus just paint on the ground or a directional sign on the, small ground sign?
You know, I can guess. I went to Brunswick a month ago for the same thing,
Yeah.
for actually a variance for additional wall signs. And it's line of sight. We actually went and installed another one in Akron, and we were on site when we saw an SUV run over the directional sign. So the ones at ground level, they tend to, in their caffeine rush, overlook them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And just as opposed to paint on the ground, huh?
Yeah. Well, especially in the winter months, you can't see any of that.
Yeah.
And the directional signs, they're very small. They're like this small, so if another car's parked in front of it, you don't see it. If it's on the drive-through, especially for buildings that have multiple tenants, if they can look up and drive through this way, that gives them a better chance, especially if they get out and around. A couple of the locations I've seen, the buildings on the end, drive-throughs all the way around the backside.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
The other thing that's kind of interesting, now that you've taken Starbucks off the side, I mean, this is completely logo driven. There's no mention of Starbucks. It's recognition, I guess on the sign. Was there even on the ground side? Is it the logo with drive-through?
logo with drive-through.
Yeah, so there's no mention of the actual store. It's all logo driven. I'm guessing that's pretty common trend, or it's where things are going, or they've got such a distinctive look, the people that are looking for Starbucks know that that's,
All my other, the
That's what they-
other locations that we've done, which is probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 at this point, have had actual Starbucks channel letters. This will be
Okay.
the first one that's just the
it's just a
logos.
logo.
But we were able to get the review comments back in time to send it back to corporate, and they sent
And they
us
were
back,
okay with
so
that.
that was great.
So that's different. I don't know if it's maybe the only place in town that doesn't have
Pretty
their name on it.
Yeah.
Kind of shows the value of the logo. Guys, any other thoughts?
No, I have just another question. I didn't understand the conflict with the Aspen sign.
I think it was just, it has like Aspen came in with their own sign plan a while ago. And the ground monument sign up near the entrance, or up near the street, up near 82, was approved, but there were some contingencies on it, like, I think we sent it back saying, you know, it's approved pending administrative review of landscaping or the brick or what, we can't remember necessarily what those conditions were. We just need to make sure that they actually met those
We're not
conditions.
combining Starbucks with Aspen.
No, it's, you know, I think this is the intention all along, you know, that it shows both businesses on that monument sign.
Okay.
We just want to make sure that, yeah, that the first applicant that came through that had the actual physical sign there did what they were supposed to do before we fully give everything. We'll make the assumption here tonight that they did. Are you, want to make a motion? Or you got a question?
Yeah, well, it's just a technical thing. I'm trying to picture how the C is the drive-through signs, correct?
Yes.
And on the general layout, I see A and C and G on one side, and then I see a C and an A over here on 2 different walls.
So A and C and G should be the south elevation, which is the front.
Correct.
Okay. And then on
I think there's,
C,
I think on the back of the store, there's a logo, the round. Then
that
there's-
would be the north elevation.
I think probably the C actually would go over here
Well, I'm looking at
underneath.
this
What
drawing.
page are you on with that?
Second page of the new ones from tonight.
I see on the west elevation an A and a C.
Okay, so that should be this.
So I think the situation, the issue is you're looking to see another, they moved this C over here and they didn't put it on the site plan.
Yeah,
because
that's
this is
where it
the
was
drive-through.
before.
That's where it was before.
Yep, this is the
Oh,
drive-through.
this is the latest one.
They
that
took
just
off
gave
the-
us,
Yeah, so they took off one, but they didn't remember to move this one
Okay,
over. Yep, you're
Need
right.
clarification on looking at that, and it didn't quite match up, so.
Right.
Thank you.
Gotta keep on top.
All right, that can be mentioned in the motion, or we say, as per the elevations or something like that, because those appear to be right.
Yeah, we
something
have
like
that
that.
on record here, I think we're
Okay.
comfortable with that, I just was
Yeah.
following the plan there.
Yeah. All right, do you want to make a motion?
Make a motion that we approve the signs with the understanding that the monument sign may or may not be approved yet, and may need clarification on that administratively.
Everything else is per the new plan.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, so got a motion for approval?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Please say that one more time. Motion to approve.
Was it contingent that the ground monument sign has been approved administratively? And this is based on the new plan submitted tonight.
Thank you.
What we approved was the correction, the clarification of the three, the wall signs are.
Yeah, I think with this new
With the
plan
new
and
plan, that should
it'll,
be there.
yeah.
Thank you.
All right. And I think the last item, are we withdrawing it or do we have to table it?
Bruce Taylor tabled it. He is the one that made the proposal. He requested to table it and that he hold on to the plans. It would be resubmitted next month or the month after.
All right,
Okay.
so, and that is the name of
That one is
that. The Freeway Drive, new building, Bruce Taylor.
Yes.
Do you have a motion to table?
I'll make a motion to table.
All right, a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor of tabling?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Real quick, miscellaneous, I think it's a suggestion of the mayor, because I wasn't here at the last meeting, he suggested we should have an alternate chairman to make it official. But we should probably wait for Tony to be here for all four of us. But maybe at the next meeting, we'll pick somebody to be an alternate, so if I can't be here.
I thought we had done that, so I guess we have.
I know you were the BZA.
And the alternate.
Oh, were you and the alternate?
But I don't, when the last time we updated that?
That would be like the first meeting of last year, right? The mayor's, this is the second year in office, right? So it was probably that January meeting. Maybe we need to look back at the January meeting minutes
Okay.
to see.
I know we did it.
Okay.
And that was the outcome, was that I would be the
Okay, well then from now on,
chair and be a BZA representative.
you're in charge.
So we're gonna say.
I don't say I wanted it, I just.
Do you want me to check and see if it was on
Double check
there?
it, just make sure it's in the minutes.
But do
if
we
it's
have,
not
do we have to
recorded.
redo that every year?
I don't think so. I think
didn't think so
unless,
either.
If you did it in January, then wouldn't it?
No, I think it was.
Oh, wait, like.
yeah, I don't think, because there's nothing in the ordinance that says you have to have one. It just says the mayor is not in it. Is all it says, so, and we never had, to be honest, we never had an alternate before. It was always the council representative would jump in. Then there was times when the mayor and the council was like, who's been here or who wants to do it? You know, that only happened once or twice, but
It's all new when we.
So next week we'll
just,
vote on that
or just to see if it's, make sure it's recorded in the minutes that Mr. President is, and with the thing you just,
I'm pretty sure it was January, not this past January,
yeah,
January a year ago.
16,
Okay.
when the ordinance is changed, to not have council, not have a mayor on it anymore. If he's in there in the records, then I think we just let it ride.
Okay.
Because there's nothing saying we have to re-elect at any time.
Okay, so then I'll let everybody know if it's in there.
That's it. Yes.
I don't know, if miscellaneous includes comments from the audience, but I've been listening, and I have a comment about the Liberty Valley Church
Can we have his name?
sign
We get your
proposal.
name for the record?
My name is Terry Repack. I live at 8250 Harmon Drive, Macedonia.
All right.
The ordinances indicate that a building has one primary frontage, and the building that Liberty Valley is in fronts on Capitol Boulevard. It's on Capitol Boulevard. It's not a corner. It happens to be a cul-de-sac. It's a straight road, and I'm wondering if that's a problem for that building, because the two sides and the elevation facing Route 8 are really not the frontages of that building. The frontage of the building is on Capitol Boulevard, and I think that the code needs to be reviewed and checked and thoroughly. I don't have my book with me, so I can't say for sure, but I do have a question about that.
But there's no addresses there's no addresses on Capitol Boulevard.
Well,
The addresses for the 3 units that are in that end.
well, the building has
based
to
on-
have an address.
The
because-
building has an address, yeah. There's no entrances or exits on the Capitol Road side at all.
I understand that.
There's nothing there besides a brick wall.
Like I say, it's a weird.
But each of those, part of the address is the unit number.
Right,
Right. Those are all posted for the south side.
but the ordinances don't reference addresses.
It's an
It
unusual building that was
references
built before most of our time.
But it references frontages.
Right.
So that's why I'm bringing this.
Yes,
It's kind of,
it's an oddball building that's got its front door on the back side of the building. Yeah, the front door's on the back side of the
I know
building.
you can't
If
deny
you
the
really had,
signage, you know.
right, and if you ever show to go on front, I mean, it's not even really even facing Capitol. there's not really a side that even faces, it's a cul-de-sac.
It's a multiple tenant building, so they have the option, they have to have entrances on all four sides
Right, a lot of-
based on the
too
occupant
shallow
and
for-
where,
for
and where they
front
want to
yard
put the
and
walls.
such, yeah.
So I think it has to do, a lot of it's just gonna have to be a judgment call, because I think even some of the tenants don't even have frontage, if you consider, you know, Capitol
Right, if you don't
Boulevard,
count-
or if you're
you don't
kind of
count
the
it.
south side, they don't even have frontage.
Right.
So it's kind of a, I think the whole thing is kind
No,
of.
Mars is on the south,
Facing north, their
Yeah,
entrance
they
faces
don't
north.
have a door.
as is their truck dock.
Correct. So both, all the fronts of the building as far as business is concerned, either face north or south.
Exactly, exactly.
But if you want to count the street, then it would be the east side, obviously.
Right. Well, I just brought it
Yeah.
up because it's
No,
it's
it's
an
absolutely
anomaly
true,
of
but
the- of the code.
Unfortunately, it was built that way years ago, so. Some silly would have to get a variance to show their entrance, I suppose, but, yeah, if we follow the letter.
Okay.
They're building a new building in Northville Center anyway,
Who's Mars?
Liberty Valley.
Oh, Liberty Valley, okay.
Well,
Oh, that's right, they got the big.
That's gonna make the next, whoever takes that over is gonna have the same type of problem. What kind of signage, how to calculate the square footage.
All right, anything else?
Just a general question.
Yes.
Even though we tabled it, it's more of a definition. When I was reading up Brian's overview, parking spots, 77 are land banked. What's that mean, land banked?
They're deferred for future construction. So
Okay.
maybe an applicant can demonstrate that right now we really don't even need for all that parking. Because ideally, what we want to do is try to limit the number of parking spaces to actual usage. Walmart's a great example. They have an enormous parking lot. How many times have you gone by Walmart and the parking lot's completely full? Probably not many. I can tell you one day of the year, it's called the Black Friday syndrome. And we tend to park parking lots based on Black Friday, and we really want to limit the exposure. So we allow for land banking and future construction. They take the calculations for stormwater drainage into account now. So when they want to go back and construct that parking lot after demonstration that they need it, then they don't have to go through a whole process. They already did it on
So it
front.
stays undeveloped, natural land.
Yeah, they have to
Until
hold
it's
that spot.
Performance-based needed, other than one day a year.
Okay, thanks.
All right, wanna make a motion, adjourn?
Open to adjourn?
All right,
Second.
all in favor? All right, thank you.